My people, Ruto kama anataka Wakenya wamwachie nchi sasa atuambie tu. Because tell me why he is accepting this.
Kasongo wenyu wameitikia Trump dump watu wako na Ebola kwa nchi yenu, ndio hii hapa. New York Times. Can you imagine? As always, we have always known that he's a puppet of the West, but I did not know it was to this extent. Ebola!
Okay. So Donald Trump will be sending Ebola exposed people to Kenya from the United States. Hii news niliona usiku, New York Times. Nikasema hapana, no. I can't trust this source. Nimeiona kwa Wall Street Journal. Nikasema hapana, nimeanza kuona these big outlets za Kenya zikipost, and I'm like, what do you mean? Anyway, we don't have a country. Let's accept that Kenyans. Kama imefika hapa, then we are doomed. Ebola exposed people. Aluta.
Hello guys, this is a new developing story. It is alleged that the US is planning to construct a quarantine facility hapa Kenya. And this facility, it is now, you see those people when you're on Ebola, America. They want to extradite them from America, they bring them to Kenya for quarantine. How does that make sense? See, that's a first world country. Why do they need a Kenyan land to quarantine their own people? If this thing is alleged, if this thing happens, then Nimbaya, because this is another way of exposing us to this Ebola thing. Why do they have to quarantine the people who have Ebola from their country? They bring them to Kenya for quarantine. Hii mchezo hatutaki bana. And this should not come to pass, and we should not allow this thing to happen. It is alleged. Hapana, hii mchezo hatutaki mchezo.
The Trump administration could soon set up a quarantine facility in Kenya for US citizens exposed to Ebola. The US is seemingly reluctant to fly its citizens back home for observation, so Kenya is likely a preferred option. And as of yesterday, Tuesday, this is still pending government approval, but there have already been a few Americans exposed to this rare variant, which has seen almost 1,000 suspected cases and over 200 suspected deaths in the DRC. Uganda has confirmed 7 cases and 1 death, and the WHO has declared it a public health emergency of international concern. Would you be concerned if this facility came to Kenya? Let me know in the comments.
So the United States is planning on building an Ebola treatment center in Kenya. And this is all going to fall under this bilateral health deal that the US and Kenya have already. Okay. So I guess this is why Kenya is chosen to do this. And the treatment center is to treat or care for American citizens who have come into contact with Ebola, are suspected of having Ebola, or have also been diagnosed with Ebola. That treatment center will be fully paid for, funded by the United States, and it will be located in Kenya. Now, Kenya hasn't signed off on it yet. That's all it's waiting on is Kenya to sign off on it, and then it'll be a go. Okay. Apparently there are already some deals or whatever that the United States has with Kenya as far as healthcare and everything like that. So I don't know if it's going to go through. I'm going to say more than likely it'll go through because they're already in a deal. So why wouldn't it go through? Okay. But it's to only treat American citizens who have come into contact with Ebola, suspected of having it, or have been diagnosed. Okay. This will be an isolation center and a treatment center. And it'll be fully staffed with American doctors, nurses, whatever. And it's fully paid for by the United States of America. While it looks like I read somewhere that there are over 1,000 cases, actually confirmed cases now of Ebola in that region, in the Congo region. So this situation isn't going anywhere fast. Okay. What it's looking like is the United States does not want any Ebola cases on the mainland, period. So, and that's why I guess the idea was to just go ahead and put the treatment center over in Kenya. But the thing is, I don't think Kenya wants any freaking Ebola over there where they are either. Okay. So yeah. I don't know. If I was the Kenyan president, I'd be like, hold up. But money is all on the table here. Okay. So money is all on the table, and Kenya is not going to have to finance it. So I'm going to see how this plays out. I'm going to see how this whole thing plays out, because this is something that you really don't want on your mainland. You just don't want it in your country at all, around anybody. As of right now, Kenya right now has no diagnosed Ebola in their country. Okay. So let's say that an American citizen does get Ebola. They would end up being headed to Kenya. I don't know how I feel about that if I was Kenyan. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, I understand the facility and everything's going to be built and everything. It's going to be isolation and all that good stuff and all that. But things happen and people, doctors and nurses end up getting it. And stuff like that happens. And I know the United States is good at quarantine and everything. We have some of the best quarantine methods and stuff like that. However, I don't know how I feel about that if I was Kenyan. I'm not even going to lie. Like, what's going on? Okay, but that's what's going on right now. The administration's like, absolutely not. Don't bring any Ebola over here. Okay, so I guess they'll like treat them out there. Okay, so that's what it's looking like. In the meantime, other countries are requiring anyone coming in from the region to self-isolate for a number of days. I believe it's 30 days, approximately 30 days. Like Canada is doing that, as well as the United States of America. I know the United States had already started screening at certain particular airports, and they only allow people coming in to go through those particular airports. So, but a lot of other countries have already started the screening all over the world. So, and requiring the isolation. So, this Ebola, they actually said that this is probably one of the worst, or it's on track to be one of the worst that there has ever been. So I hope that everyone in the adjacent countries to Congo, everyone in the Congo starts to buckle down and really like pay attention and do what they need to do, and don't listen to any freaking myths and legends and all kind of junk like that. Just pay attention to the science on this one. Pay attention to the science. Pay attention to the facts. People are dropping dead. People are dropping dead. Okay, this isn't new. I believe the Congo has had Ebola like 17 times already, like an Ebola outbreak. So this is not new, but this is going to be one of the worst.
Sikiza hii story. Mwenye akili atumia akili kuelewa hii story. Ebola imeishi kukua Kongo. Recently Wakongolizi wameangalia wakaona hii Ebola inakuanga hapa Kongo. Ni Ebola kweli? Hapana, ni kitu ingine. Kama ni kitu ingine, kwa nini hawa wanatusukumia Ebola? Sijui watu wasitembee Ituri. Ituri kuna Ebola. Ndio muogope kuenda Ituri, muogope kuenda Goma, muogope kuintamingo na watu, muogope mjifungie kwa manyumba zenyu because Ebola inaua. Sasa hao wa Kongo wameamua kukataa, waseme hakuna Ebola in Kongo. Kuna mwanamke akatoka Kongo akaingia Uganda. Motive sio Uganda. Motive ni Kenya. Nakamueleza story vizuri. Huyo mwanamke akaingia Uganda, akapiga raundi zake, akasambaza Ebola. Alafu akapanda tena gari, akarudi Kongo. Elewa story. Then hapo Uganda, watu wamesambaziwa hiyo Ebola, hawajulikani ni wangapi. So far jana, walikuwa wamefika watu 5 wako na Ebola. Mpaka ya Kenya imefunguliwa ni kama watu wa koi na nge. Whoever wants kuingia, aingie. Na ule anataka kutoka, atoke. Fortunately ama unfortunately, watu hawatoki sana, wala naingia ndio wengi, wana benefit na rasilimali ya Kenya. Bado hujaelewa story. Sasa kwa nini hiyo border iko wazi? Ni kwa sababu come next year, Ebola inaweza tumika kama excuse ya watu kuto move around, kuto mingle. Na that might force the parliament postpone elections. Elewa story. Why? Because they want Ebola in Uganda ishikane, ikuwe kubwa, wajifanye ni kubwa, walete wapi? Kenya. Na i-affect wa Kenya wengi kuliko Uganda. Nataka uelewe story. Makiu usipo understand hivi, sijui utalaumu nani next year. Cause mimi naona next year, liwe liwalo, kuna game inaweza chezwa. Tumakinike.
There is nothing in this world that is more orderly than an African jungle. An African jungle is quintessential balance, symmetry, symbiosis, order. And that is why for many years African communities have been telling you to leave our forests alone. Indigenous communities have been saying, leave our forests alone. That is why we talk about the protection and the preservation of the Congo rainforest and the Congo basin. But you all don't want to listen to indigenous African communities because they are backward and ignorant. Because you only want to listen to Western scientists. Well, Western scientists have been saying the exact same thing. This is academic academic research. This is scientific scholarship from Western institutions that has been backing the fact that deforestation, destroying African people's livelihoods and homes, is directly linked to outbreaks of the Ebola virus. This is also concerning way back the 2014 outbreaks in Sierra Leone and Liberia. National Socio-Environmental Synthesis Center, and this center was established and it's funded by the National Science Foundation, affiliated with the University of Maryland. And this is just one of the numerous European, American, Western, Eastern, everybody has been talking about this. But African communities say it and you all refuse to listen to them. All you want to do is to ostracize African communities. All you want to do is point fingers at African communities. The people who are getting so mad and so angry at the community in Ituri, who lit up, who burned the Ebola clinic down. Have you stopped to think that maybe they know something you don't know? Have you stopped to think that maybe they are frustrated because they know that the cause of this virus, the outbreak of this virus is because their livelihoods have been destroyed. Their forest homelands have been destroyed. They know something you don't know. They are not as ignorant as you think. And this is information that the World Health Organization is not going to tell you. Dr. Ghebreyesus is not going to come and tell us this, the director of the WHO. He's not going to do his due diligence and tell us exactly why this outbreak is happening the way it is. They don't want to do their due diligence how they did with COVID, because it's affecting African people. These organizations are extremely Eurocentric. They're not as balanced. They're not as colorblind as we all assume. Stop ostracizing African people. Stop pointing fingers at African people for mistakes that are being made by Western corporations, by international corporations of all regions of the world, not just the West.
President Trump just gave Kenya $1.6 billion to fund their healthcare system. Yet a few weeks ago, he refused to extend the ACA subsidies for Americans so they could afford theirs. If that's not America first, I don't know what is.
Now, Kenya has been the first country in Africa to sign a 5-year deal with the US. Hii deal affect specifically your health. Your medical data is at risk of being handed over to a foreign government in exchange of 1.6 billion in the next 25 years. In this framework, Gavetu Kishekewa Kichele itapea US government full access to Kenya's entire national health database. In short, ukipimwa TB, HIV, malaria, etc. Iyo data yako iko accessible to US officials. Bado kwa hii deal, kuna a very funny clause enye imeandikwa, and it says, this agreement shall be implemented in accordance with the US federal law. This basically means your data itakuwa managed by the American law. In short, kwa hii shughuli, Kenyan courts will be completely powerless when it comes to decision making. All this is happening in this day and age when data is our day-to-day currency. According to the law, health information is confidential unless you write a written consent. If you ask a common learned mwananchi, atakwambia this deal is unconstitutional, and I'm going to take you through the laws it violates. Number 1, the Digital Health Act. Number 2, the Kenya Data Protection Act. And lastly, the Health Act confidentiality provisions. Imeviolate hizo tatu na bado ikapitishwa without your public participation. So wewe niambie, kama Mkenya, do you really have your data protection rights? Haya, hii data yote inapeanwa, inaenda wapi? Now, gava ya US inaenda kushare data yako with 10 pharmaceutical companies. Wanashare mbona ati ndio watumie data yako kudevelop drugs and vaccines? You might ask yourself, ni nini inge happen kama gava yetu ingeamua kukata hiyo proposal? Inasemekana failure for our government to comply with this deal, gava ya US ingejikata with both their funding and services. So, have we been blackmailed to sign a deal this confidential? Mimi na wewe tunajua how data privacy is important and how data sharing also has its bad side. So, why would we jeopardize our data in exchange of what? 1.6 billion? I really don't think we're headed in the right direction. Time will tell though. Uzuri, kupeleka na rada. Repost this video so that it can reach as many Kenyans as possible. You all need to wake up.